All right, we are live. Hello there, everyone listening, tuning in now, or listening to the podcast later. Welcome to another live recording of the Managing Partners podcast. I'm Kevin Daisy, your host, also the founder of Array Digital, where we specialize in helping law firms grow their pipeline using digital marketing. So if you need some help, reach out to us, arraylaw.com. Today, I have a special guest coming out of Georgia, Marcia Shein. Welcome, and thanks for joining me today.
Pleasure.
So I want to jump right in. Just like always, I want to know your story, your journey, and how you became to be where you are. You got a successful law firm there in Georgia. So give us a little background on you.
That'd be great. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, went to college in Tennessee, ended up coming back, becoming a state and federal probation officer. And then I realized I loved the seasons, and so I moved back to Georgia. But when I left the federal probation office, I decided to work on sentencing mitigation work with criminal defense lawyers in the area. I became a first for criminal defense lawyers to have that type of consulting. I had my master's degree in psychology at that point, so I was able to give both the legal and the personal attention to a case that was not being given through the lawyers themselves because they weren't trained for that. And so that mitigation became a really popular thing. We ended up traveling all over the country, and it kind of motivated me to get to Atlanta because I was flying through Atlanta all the time like everybody else. And so I ended up moving after the first year of consulting work and continued that before I even went to law school. Finally, I realized that it was time for me to get myself into that field from what I had already learned and been doing, and it had become so successful that I felt that I should be the one actually advocating instead of handing over my work to other lawyers, though there are plenty of lawyers who made it work for me and were my mentors. And so we did that, and I went to law school and started my practice in 1992 after passing the bar. And about the last 14 years have been the best the firm has ever been. The growth was painful, long, arduous, but we got there, and I couldn't be happier with the type of firm that we've established. It's pretty extraordinary.
That's an awesome story, and everyone's. I love hearing all the different stories about how individuals got to where they are and how they started, and it was usually not a plan in the beginning. And so that's an interesting story you had. And Atlanta, I've been there a bunch of times, only in the airport.
Most everybody has been there. There's a joke, but I won't tell it for now. Okay. If you're headed to heaven, you have to go through Atlanta.
I believe that. That's fun. So excellent story. So, and isn't it funny too? You mentioned the last 14 years. It's interesting, and this is for me too. At some point, you struggle. It's hard. There's a lot of things, and at some point, it kind of starts to click, and things start to work, and you figure things out enough to where you're like, okay, the only thing is you're like, well, I wish I knew this, when I started. But eventually, you start to figure things out, and it takes a while, a lot of trial and error.
My dad was a businessman. He was in the insurance business. And because of that, he kind of gave me some of that insight. So I had a pretty good idea what a business would look like as a law firm, where a lot of lawyers don't have that experience or that time to develop it. And I did make a lot of mistakes. Don't get me wrong, because I think everybody does. But along the way, I had the business savvy that was needed, and I see that difference in how the practice finally became what it is today. A lot of bumps and bruises, but it did be, I think every business goes through that in the trial and error capacity. But when we got there, it was partly because of my dad and partly because of my education skill set, which was psychology and the law. I think that really made a difference.
That's excellent. Yeah. And if you have a little edge, a little leg up, utilize it. If, any young lawyers turning in, attorneys that maybe law students that are trying to go, if you have parents that run businesses and you haven't really spent time picking their brain, maybe you should go do that. So if you're in college right now, go, hey, wait a minute, my dad or my mom runs a business. Let me go talk to them, because if you're going to be an attorney, whether you work at another firm or not, you're pretty much running your own little business.
Oh yeah, and take a business course if you can. it makes a difference. I didn't do that, but I think now with the way lawyers are developing and the competition out there is, it's important to understand what you're getting into if you're going to do this by yourself. It's not an easy trek.
Yeah. So here's my business partner, Eric J. Olson. He's another host of the show, actually. He says, Hotlanta.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The few times I've actually hung out in Georgia was Fort Benning. My brother was in the Army.
Okay.
As I was a teenager, I'd go visit him, and it was the hottest place I've ever been in my life to date, I believe. But it was.
Well, you went in the summer. You didn't go in the real good season.
Yeah, and I'm in Virginia, so we have seasons for sure.
Oh, there you go.
But it never gets too cold. But I like the cold. Real quick, too, while everyone's tuning in, if you have any questions, please ask. She's got a ton to share. Also, please check out her website with her firm. You can learn more about her. Either now on the show or later. I'm going to put this in the comments as well for everyone to navigate to. So we'll throw that up in there. Okay. So a little bit different tangent. How do you go, running a business, you run a firm, you've been growing and things are going well. What are some of the things that you've done to really bring clients into the door?
The business model kind of was evolutionary. I started out with other lawyers helping me, which is important in anybody's move towards independence and self business. I think you have to have other lawyers willing to support you. And because I had already been working in mitigation work, that I had a lot of connections, and they would start to refer particular types of clients to me, which started out mostly in the post-conviction avenue because I had done all that mitigation work, which is a post-conviction action in especially in federal court. And I did a lot more in federal court than I ever did in state court. So my goal was to stay in the federal system, and I started really getting good at it. And of course, I was a one-person show at that time. And so I was all over the place doing that kind of work for other lawyers. And when I became my own lawyer, people who I'd already dealt with and clients, both lawyers and clients, started referring people to me. So that was the real connection that started to develop the firm as a whole. And other lawyers are a big part of that. They've got to be willing, even if it's a case that they don't want because there's not enough money, or they want to give you something that they don't want to do. So I really ended up in that post-conviction arena doing appeals all over the country. I'm one of the few lawyers who is admitted to every federal circuit court of appeals and the United States Supreme Court. And so I can write an appeal and put an appeal and appear in every federal circuit. So that's been a big factor that also helped. And so a lot of post-conviction clients began to recognize the skill set we had and started referring cases to us.
That's excellent. Yeah, so I speak to a lot of managing partners, and I hear quite often, number one, do really good work. That'll pay dividends. And then
yes,
everyone always has some way they started, some lawyers that they maybe mentored with or worked for that, when they leave there or go start their own thing, that seems to be a great resource for them with referrals. So it sounds that's, pretty popular answer to that one. But at the same time, you mentioned doing some of the things that others don't want to do or are not equipped to do. And I've actually had a few managing partners on here that literally started their firms because they recognized something that others didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. And they just started their firm to do just that. And so
exactly.
They found that little area that they could work in that everyone that they had worked with prior was like, yeah, we don't want to do that stuff.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go start a firm that does that stuff and just get really good at it.
And a lot of civil firms who don't do criminal works end up sometimes running into a criminal defendant because of the civil work they're doing, whether it's a fraud case or tax violations. Things like that come up frequently in civil law firms who represent clients on that capacity. So they would also refer to us. And, once you get to specialty, people realize that it's important to hire those people because they know more. It's like doctors. You get to a point where the law now has become a specialized focus, especially in criminal defense law. And that's how we developed and kind of branched out. Most of our work is still a lot of heavy post-conviction, but we've done in federal court a lot of pre-conviction because of the mitigation work I used to do. I'm able to mitigate a case pre-trial through the process of sentencing much better at the pretrial level than just after the fact.
No, yes, and that's a really good point too. I mean, if for me, I like specialists, and and like my team, we hire specialists in versus when we started, you kind of have to have generalists because you can't specialize just yet. But yeah, if I was going into a case where I was being convicted of something, I don't know if I'd hire a firm that's like family law, estate planning, and we can also defend you
for
your criminal case. I'd probably want someone that's got a good track record, and that's all they do.
That's a good point, by the way. A lot of our cases have come from lawyers who have a partial practice in criminal law, but did not have a full practice. And some of the things that happened along the way were things that were a little bit outside their comfort zone, if you will. Yeah. And so those cases have come to us as well. And another thing that's happened for us is that a lot of people like our communication skills and ability. One of the things we learned along the way was a lot of complaints came to us that their lawyers wouldn't communicate or weren't nice or kind or thorough or honest with them. And so we heard all that. And so we're very vigilant about communicating with our clients and their families, which is another big part of the problem.
Love that. I mean, communication always seems to be an issue, or can be an issue very easily. And that's with my business too. We do everything we can to make sure that's taken care of, and let everyone know what's going on. But that's a very good point. That guys, kudos on doing that, and taking care of that piece. Because if you don't hear back from someone, especially in a situation that can be a huge situation for them, you're on pins and needles. You're stressed. You're worried. So to hear back often would be nice. That's for sure.
The families appreciate it as well because their loved one is in a very crisis situation, being charged with a crime, convicted of a crime, whatever it is. And the families are distraught. And so being able to communicate with them has also been helpful. That comes from the psychology part of me, which can be an albatross or a gift, depending on how I look at it.
Well, and here's the thing. Even if it's, hey, we have no more news, let you know. And then you call the next day, hey, we still have no more news.
Right.
That's, at least it's something versus silence.
And if you can't get through to me personally or one of the lawyers in the firm personally, our assistants are really good at making sure people know, hey, there's nothing new. Marcia can't help you. She's on the phone or whatever it is. And that gives people at least awareness that they can contact the firm. And even if they don't talk to me, they talk to somebody.
Yeah, no, I love it. So I wanted to, real quick about the clients, other things that you're doing. So the referrals, the good work, all that good stuff. What have you guys done from a marketing perspective? The people that don't know who you are, not the referrals, but anything you have done that's been unique, that's worked well for you to bring in customers other ways. Yeah,
the web, obviously in the next century here, we've dealt with the websites, and we've started that, 20 years ago. And it's had its ups and downs, but it's now starting to get a little bit more consistent. So that's been a huge factor. We got into a company that did really well for us. We had a few companies that kind of failed when algorithms changed. So we had to move around. I think you have to be willing to take the risk to move if you're not getting what you want from the company that's working for you. So we did that, and now we're doing much better with that. Obviously referrals, which is what I represented previously, communication. And the marketing part of it is also we provide them with information about the firm, not only through the website, but because inmates can't access the website, we have a unique way of communicating with them and teaching them things through articles I've written or that somebody in the firm has written that appeared in our national journals, that appeared in some publication that would give it credibility. I wrote one of the first books on sentencing mitigation back in 1990 something, and then it won an award. But it was these things that began to get people interested. People would buy the book, and then they'd see what we did, and those kind of things actually made a difference. So now we send to our clients articles that have been published and information about cases or their case in terms of how it might come out because of another case. So we've provided some of the clients with actual case law saying, hey, here's something that can be really helpful to your case. I think that's been a big issue in helping the client communicate with our office.
That's excellent. I love that. And you're kind of nurturing
Yes.
the client as well. So, well, speaking of writing, I wanted to mention too, you have a novel that you wrote. So I wanted to know more about that.
That's a labor of love. A lot of the parts of the novel, it's called Love Lies. You can get it on Amazon. Under my name is the easiest way to find it.
Well, I'm going to get the link real quick, and I'll throw it up for everybody.
It'll show up as under Marcia Shein most for books. But I started it, well, now over 10 years ago. When it's been out for about a year and a half, 2 years. But the interior of the story is fiction, but a lot of the things that happened in the book actually happened in cases I was involved in. Other than shootings and killings, a lot of the information there came from cases I worked on, particularly those from South America. So it was a very interesting endeavor. I had written it off and on for years and finally decided to finish it, and it came out good. And then Durant's published it almost immediately. They were very interested in it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I put it in the comments so people can actually go to the Amazon link.
Good.
And
that's great. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And then
it's a fun beach read. It's a good beach read. You're not going to get overly intellectualized, and it's a real good read because it's that kind of, you sit down and just get into the characters.
That's awesome. I bet my wife would love that actually. But the title's below too, Love Lies, by Marcia Shein. So check that out. That's super. So how long, just on a tangent, I guess, how long did it take to write and publish that?
It was 10 years to write it. Like I said, I was working full time, so I had to do it kind of off and on.
Yeah.
And finally finished it in, I think, 2018. The publisher took it for the editing and, all the advice and changes that required. And then it came out in 2019. It started to really get some momentum in 20, and then people are still buying it in 21. So I'm pleased with the outcome. I wasn't looking for money. I was just looking to get this off my chest. And because it's a lot of reality, it was a really good read.
That's awesome. Well, we don't do everything for money. So now put it in the comments, the sales are going to blow up, and
I hope.
I'll take 10%. That's all I want. Just kidding.
No, I'm not looking for checks. I was looking to write it because it felt good to get this out. And it was just stories about cases filtered into a fictional characterization.
That's super cool. So I'll definitely check that out. I'm going to send it to my wife as well to check out. So what is the big plans, growth plans? What's the next 1 to say 5 years look like for the firm? What things do you have on the radar?
Well, I'm fortunate to have 2 of the best criminal defense lawyers in the state of Georgia working for me. Elizabeth Brandenburg came with me 14, 15 years ago as a new lawyer. I mentored her, and she's turned out to be, the teacher now becomes the student kind of approach. She's just brilliant, as is Lee Schrope, who came from the public defender's office, has great appellate and writing experience. She's an amazing researcher writer. All in all, I've been very blessed. And Rena, who also runs the office for us, I'm hoping she'll not leave after I have this conversation with you, because she's thinking about it after 7 years. But
won't go anywhere.
She's been amazing, and we've had a blessed firm. The 5-year focus is to continue to grow on the internet, continue to grow with clients in communications, continue to grow with that communication both in writing and verbally, continue that contact with families. I mean, I think we've reached finally that magical part that if we just keep promoting that and moving that needle forward, our success will come with it. There's not one magic bullet I can say now that we need to make such a difference that we aren't stable enough at this point. But I don't want to not grow. So we look for clients. We're looking for support. I mean, that's not the issue. We're growing, and each year seems better.
That's excellent. Well, hopefully she stays with you, and it sounds like you got some great other attorneys and a full team there. The website again is below. They have an awesome video. I think it's on the homepage.
Yes. Yeah.
Which Marcia's in, and it features the other attorneys there. But check out the video. I think it's a good video that other firms should look at if you're listening. That capture kind of the essence, the story, how you kind of got started in this and what you all stand for. So good video on the homepage. I'd check that out. So
Yeah, we really have. I think that's been a real positive for us. That homepage gives a lot of details and information for clients. When someone gets charged with a crime, they really want to know what they're dealing with, that they don't understand the law. So that website has a lot of newsletters and research that we've posted so that they can maybe get a little more information about what their situation is.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, so check that out. It's got a lot of good information, a good video, like I said, too. So, Marcia, if someone's listening, someone's watching now, in the future, they come back to this episode, we'll have this up on our website. What's the best way they could reach out to you or connect with you other than the website itself?
They can always call the office if they've been charged with a federal or Georgia state criminal offense. So let me make the separation of that for a moment, if you will. Federal crime, we can go anywhere in the United States and represent somebody, both on appellate and post-conviction as well as pretrial. In state court, we're focusing only in Georgia, and we do mostly post-conviction work in Georgia from the point of the motion for a new trial, the appeal, the habeas petition, and the parole petition. In Georgia, there's several methods of which you can mitigate the outcome of a case or mitigate damages. So our goal is to keep that focus and separation, but at the same time, that's what we do the most.
Okay, excellent. So any attorneys in Georgia that think should be a good referral source, reach out. This is the office number, I believe. Yeah. So and the emails come to all of us, but I recommend using Elizabeth's email. She'll respond faster than I will sometimes, and that's Elizabeth@mshinelaw.com. You can write Marcia at mshinelaw.com, and you can also write Lee, Leigh, at mshinelaw.com. So all three of us get the same emails, but you can write us individually if you feel you want to talk to us personally on something special. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you sharing today. Awesome story, and it sounds like you guys are really doing some amazing things, but really specialize and great at what you do. So thank you. That'll always lead to success. So anything you'd like to share before we sign off? Well, after almost 30 years of practicing, I think we get it right most of the time. We've also been able to get a couple people who are actually innocent of the crime out of jail. So we recently were able to get somebody who had served 18 years out of jail only because everybody missed knowing that one of the witnesses was not dead, was actually in federal custody. So we do our research, we do our homework, and hopefully we can help somebody out there that may need us. Well, that is amazing. So thank you so much for sharing your story today. This will be up on our website soon, so you can go check out arraylaw.com/podcast. Marcia will have a feature on there as soon as we get that put together. This will also be up on our audio version of the podcast soon as well. So look out for that. And it looks like we have I thought we had a comment come in, so I was going to check on that real quick. And if you're a law firm. Let me just say this, Kevin, that I appreciate what you've done and the growth of your business. I wish you success as well. Array Law seems to be a really great opportunity. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, if anyone needs help growing their firms, bringing in marketing, bringing in those cases, like Marcia is able to do, reach out to us, check out arraylaw.com. And if it's just to ask questions or pick my brain or whatever, happy to help you and talk to you. So that's it. Have a good afternoon. And Marcia, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to stay on for just a second while we end this, we'll chat for just a second, and then we'll be on about our day. So everyone else, have a good day. We'll see you soon. Thanks.